How's it going, my dudes? Welcome back to another video. So for today, we're going to cover really quickly the Arc Accursed EX boss. To be honest, this boss is really simple. There is not much you can do to improve the DPS of your team for now. So long as you have the Result Corina duo, you're pretty much set. It doesn't really matter what your first two units are, you're most likely going to be able to survive and beat the boss without any catch. So if you do not have Result, which is going to be the pay-to-win team, so to speak, you can always opt for something cheaper. My preference would be to use Cecilia because Cecilia gives you a pretty close skill gauge to your Suzu Owl combo, and that allows you to throw your skills in tangent. If you go for a unit like Gerard, your skill gauge cost is going to be a lot lower and thus separates potential wombo combos. Now you don't need to use Yuna, I just use Yuna because with her in the mix, my rotation becomes a lot smoother. It constantly goes Elia on her own, followed by Suzu wombo combo, followed by Elia on her own, followed by Suzu wombo combo. I feel like the mix is a lot nicer than using a Kira, but if you do have a Kira, it is entirely viable to run Elia Kira, it works as well. Without further ado, let's take a look at the run. Now in my opinion, it makes a lot more sense to use skill damage than any other comps, because not only is Elia super powerful, but the boss is kinda hard to catch using a power flip. So he moves around a lot and that creates a lot of problem even for a skill damage team. But if you're gonna use a warrior pen flip, it's gonna be a little bit harder to hit the boss at times. So yes, I would highly recommend that you move with skill damage. Now the main reason why people run Corina in their team is because Corina removes 2 debuffs using her skill. This is very different to Razelle, who gives you a debuff protection, which is just a mitigation and not a curative. So the main debuff that I think is very important to remove, it's not so much the attack debuff but rather the dark resist debuff. And whenever you kill the boss, he actually revives, and he revives up to 2 more times. And whenever he revives, he then lands the same attack and dark resistance debuffs on your entire team. And these debuffs are perpetual, so they do not go away on their own. Therefore, if you do not use a Corina, you may eventually have 3 stacks of dark resistance debuff, and that could be very dangerous. Running a Razelle or Cecilia just gives you the peace of mind so that your team can land their damage without fearing losing too much HP along the way. And especially if you're going to be using the robot boss armament, the Obstructor, your unit needs to have at least 60% HP for the rest of your light units to gain that 50% extra attack power. But of course, this may make more sense if you run a Result, because you're not going to be using your Obstructor on your tank, neither your DPS, so it has to go on unit number 2. And Cecilia or Gerard or even Miles, they only protect the leader, not the entire team. So if you're using Cecilia, I may recommend you to use the Fire Labyrinth Sword on your unit number 2, which is going to be your Shasuzu. The Fire Labyrinth Sword helps you to build skill gauge for Shasuzu and therefore translates to a little bit more wombo combos along the way. Unfortunately, this is the best that we have right now. I have tried several builds like using Rolf without using Result, and playing around with my favorite Shasuzu Mia combo. None of those seem to work very well, and it just seems that this comp is just the perfect team right now. But I am dead sure that someone is going to find something even more impressive and a lot more interesting, so hopefully I get my hands on those and I'll be able to showcase this to you. And so far I have heard that it is possible to one-punch the boss using Love. I don't really know what the strategy is about, but based on the Mother Love boss, I'm going to assume that it's a Dead Eye spam, but again, I am not too sure. So I'm gonna skip to the end because this is not very exciting. So I guess the main takeaway is to just use a Result Corina combo and to run skill damage. And if you guys are interested in building a dark direct attack damage team, then it may be very important to farm out the armaments as well. But with that said, this has been free to play by the way, and as always, I will see you in the next video.